あるだろうと負けない。
The following content contains spoilers for the Hitman Reborn manga. For anime-onlys who don't want spoilers, click off the video. For the rest of you who don't mind spoilers, let's begin. Reader discretion is advised. Special message at the end of the video. Thank you. Dokuro made her first official appearance in chapter 85, but not much of her character was referred to up until chapter 113 during the Varia arc, her actual debut battle against Mammon. She was introduced as a vessel for Mukuro, serving as his physical link to the outside world as he's being imprisoned after he was defeated by the hands of Suna. It is later revealed that before Chrome became a vessel for Mukuro, she was originally a shy girl named Nagi. Nagi is a girl living in a lonely life without any friends or a family figure to care for her. Well, she technically has a biological parent, but is very neglectful. All she has is a stepfather who cares more for his work than his stepdaughter, while her biological mother is a real ass. You'll see what I mean later. Growing up with such parents, it's understandable that Nagi has difficulty in socializing with other people. Therefore, she has become extremely introverted in nature and is used to getting mistreated to the point that she's alienated by genuine kindness. Nagi's issues, however, aren't just being neglected. She's somebody who believes that nobody would accept her unconditionally. Keep these points in mind because they're very crucial to her character, as it demonstrates how much Chrome has developed over time throughout the course of the series. And this is also to specifically point out the critiques of people stating that the female characters in the series don't contribute to the story at all, which allow me to offer a counterpoint of view. Nagi ends up getting hit by a car after trying to save a cat, which furthermore caused her a fatal accident, which as a result caused half of her organs to get severely damaged. Because of this, Nagi was taken to the hospital, where the doctors informed her mother that the only way her dying daughter's life could be saved is if somebody with the same blood type transferred her organs to her. While Nagi was barely conscious, she heard the whole conversation of her mother basically refusing to give out her organs, never caring whether or not Nagi lives or dies. This is one of the moments of her past life that detrimentally affected her behavior. Readers initially believe that Chrome is just some typical shy girl that Amano created specifically just to add distinct personalities to the Vongela family, but that's not what Chrome's character is all about. Chrome is someone who's under the belief that nobody would accept her unconditionally, because with those kinds of treatment left her with severe abandonment issues. She starts the series having an absolute disregard of her own life, and when her mother refuses to help her when she's dying, she accepted death as a form of salvation. When Mukuro tells her that he needs her, he became her sole reason for existing and a beacon of light. While wandering through his illusions in the Vintage prison, Mukuro discovered Nagi and heard her despairing thoughts. To his surprise, Nagi could hear him and respond well, leading Mukuro to bring her into his illusion, and that's when they first met. Mukuro stated that he needed her for something, and so he created an illusionary organ so she could live, forming a symbiotic link where he uses her body as an anchor, and thus, the name Dokuro is born. Dokuro means skull in Japanese, which is reflected by the eye patch she's wearing. While Chrome itself, the name doesn't have any real meaning, it could end up being a aesthetic choice. There are a lot of theories, like perhaps it's to symbolize the initial symbiotic relationship between Mukuro and Chrome and how their fates are intertwined, a reflection of how Chrome is somewhat reminded Mukuro of his past self, or it's Mukuro's way of nicknaming her. But I think it's safe to come to the logical conclusion that Chrome is probably named after a metal that's used to harden steel and resist corrosion. It symbolizes endurance, resilience, and also metaphysical context is associated with breaking out of one's shell, overcoming self-denial, building strong self-confidence, and fostering attractiveness. This does sound like a reach, but until we get to the final arc, you'll see what I mean later. Now back to what's happening here. In this very moment in particular between Chrome and Mukuro, the worst thing about this is the fact that we as readers and viewers know about Mukuro's true personal intent here. Yes, don't get it twisted, I am aware that he practically saved her life and provided her illusionary organs to live, but let's not forget the fact that this is the pineapple overlord here who cares more for his goals than making serious commitments. At the end of the day, he's using her. That might sound bad enough, but once you take into consideration that Chrome knew from the start, it makes matters worse. Even if Mukuro told Chrome the truth, she knew that while Mukuro did needed her, it wasn't unconditional. She needed to prove herself worthy in order to be needed, and by doing so, she became his vessel and assigned herself as the Mrs. Guardian of the Vongala, even though she's practically still a civilian. We also have Ken and Chikasa in this discussion, and the complexity of their relationship towards Chrome. Apart from the fact that Ken was mistreating her, Chikasa just didn't want anything to do with her, it is self-evident that they only accepted Chrome in the Kokyo gang solely because she's the only one connecting them to Mukuro Rukudo. Ken and Chikasa were the same people who were saved by Mukuro Rukudo, like Chrome. And while we are aware that they cared for her to an extent, in Chrome's perspective, their personalities does not represent it. Thus, it's what led Chrome to become the way she was. Distant, isolated, timid, still believing that no one will accept her unconditionally, and even afraid of genuine kindness, with the only person that mattered to her the most was Mukuro Rukudo. Because even though he was using her to get close to Suna and the Vongala, he did save her life. Some fans even went as far as to claim that Chrome doesn't mind being mistreated at all, which is not true. I mean, it may not look like it, but Chrome dislikes being mistreated heavily, especially with Ken and certain characters. Literally the only reason why Chrome silently accepted these treatments like it was something normal, it wasn't because she was too kind, it was more in the sense that because she had gotten so used to being treated badly, she didn't bother defending herself. You could argue that her being weak-minded is why she's so forgettable as a character, but when you remember what she's been through, it's all the more valid. Anybody who claims that the female characters don't contribute to the story at all or aren't well written as the male characters, I think the issue here is that they're not explored very well. Not to the sense that they don't contribute to the story, they do. I think people really need to give these characters a chance. There is some moments here, and I think Chrome is a great testament to that. I think she is genuinely one of the most well-written female characters in the manga. Chrome's relationship with the Vongala family at first was close to business or in a professional sense. To her, these are just the individuals that she must work with under Mukuro's orders. She has no intentions on bonding with them, and even when Ryohei wanted her to join the hustle for the Vongala as a form of committery, Chrome simply chose not to participate, as it's pretty obvious she had no intent or interest in getting close to them. It didn't help that Gokudera was also a little bit suspicious of Chrome due to her relationship with the Gokyo gang, or the fact that Chrome and Mukuro are in cahoots to secretly put the Vongala down, but it turned out not to be the case. While they objectively treated her much better, neither Suna or the boys made any attempt to get close to Chrome. Their relationship isn't fundamentally positive, but not negative either. I want to talk about her fight with Mammon for a second, as many claim that this fight alone is why Chrome is believed to be dead last as the strongest guardian of the Vongala, because quote-unquote, Akira Amano doesn't care about the female characters in Reborn, which, by the way, I have a counterpoint view for that. Keep in mind, this is a clinically injured young girl with half of her organs being made up of illusions. She did not receive proper training unlike the rest of the boys in the Varia arc, and was a vessel to the same guy that saved her life. I think calling her the weakest member of the Vongala just isn't fair when you consider all these noted down. Chrome was literally sent by the last second, and even despite all that weakness, despite the fact that she's fighting against an Arcobaleno with tons of experience with illusions, with the odds of winning being low on her end, you have to admit that even if you dislike Chrome, this is already an impressive feat. Oh, but what about Lalmerch? Isn't she one of the best female fighters in the series? I won't deny that actually, yes, Lalmerch is one of the best female fighters in the series, but here's the thing. One, unlike Chrome, Lalmerch had proper training. She's literally much older than Chrome and has a lot of combat experience. 2. Lalmerch is also an Arcobaleno, like Mammon. Chrome isn't. Yes, Lalmerch is a woman, but Arcobalenos themselves are considered to be one of the strongest faction in the verse, and Chrome is only losing to the same character that could beat everyone else in the Varia arc, except for Mukuro Rukudo. Besides, it wasn't like Chrome was completely helpless either. Her illusion was able to trick Mammon a couple times, someone who clearly has more experience than her. All it took for Chrome to quote-unquote lose is that all it took for Mammon to summon Mukuro was to break her trident. Now, there's a bit of debate on who the real Mist Guardian between Chrome and Mukuro. People say it's both, but officials state that it's Mukuro who's the true Mist Guardian, which I'll discuss this later in some parts of the video. As you might be guessing, this isn't the first time Chrome and Mammon will be clashing. Now to the future arc. As I said before, whether it's your favorite or not, the future arc has always been the most important arc of the Katekyo Hitman Reborn manga, both in lore and the growth of its characters. It expands the world with newer characters and directly sets up the crucial conflict that takes place, fundamentally transforming the main cast and plot beyond simple power-ups. While some fans prefer arcs like the Inheritance Ceremony arc or the Varia arc for their focused action, the future arc delivers more development that defines the series' later stages. In my Tsunayoshi analysis, I mentioned that the future arc is where we define Suna based on his actions. We know what his true goal was in the Varia arc, but the future arc is where it sets up that point. What does Suna truly want? And most importantly, teaching Suna about his responsibilities and how he views his friends. After revisiting the manga, I can confirm that Chrome's role in the future arc is as much as big as the rest of the group as with Suna. Don't believe me? I have proof for that. In the Varia arc, Chrome was so adamant about believing that nobody will ever accept her unconditionally and will always be under the influence that she needs to be useful in order to be accepted, meaning she doesn't believe in kindness no matter what. In the future arc, things begin to change. Wanna know how? The fact that she was approached by people like Ippen, Kyoko, Haru, and Bianchi, and as you can see, they were treating her nicely. They weren't using her, they weren't mistreating her in any way, and there's even the anime filler arc that sort of did this job a little better. And I know what you're gonna say. Oh, Red, shut up. They're obviously plot devices for the series. The girls don't contribute to the plot besides kitchen work and bonding with the characters. That's literally what they're good at. Listen to me for a second. Chrome was thrown into the future without any guidance at first, unlike the rest of the group, starving herself in the Kokyu base, and she then had to fight this goofball the moment he enters to the Kokyu base, and all it took for her to get out of there safely was the illusion of Mukuro. And as it stands, character bond is crucial for character growth. What, you expect her to just continue to be this way forever? Character growth is important. Wanna know who else had a character growth in the series? Suna. He had to bond with everyone else. Gokudera. He needed to learn about an everyday normal life to get close to Suna. Everyone does that, and Chrome is no exception. Alright? Use your brain a little bit. Almost the whole time in the future arc, Chrome was fighting all alone, constantly sacrificing herself to survive. She makes her own organ, intrudes on Melon base, trains, and fights until Mukuro shows up in the final battle against Byakuran. Her character growth compared to the previous arcs, you can tell that it has changed, and most notably in the middle of future arc during her interaction with Kyoko, Haru, Bianchi, and Ippen. Bianchi herself mentions that Chrome was not used to unconditional kindness. She didn't understand what it means to be accepted and loved unconditionally. Because she wasn't used to being treated so kindly throughout the course of her past, her first response when faced with kindness was to run away from them. She didn't know what to do in the face of their unconditional kindness and gentleness. Some might argue that this is a simple plot device because wouldn't anyone just do the same? Plus, Suna literally went through the same thing in the daily life arc. We didn't need to see this again. But I think the way Amano does it here is very interesting, and hear me out for a bit. The difference is that Suna is written as a normal protagonist with a normal life who's thrust into shonen battles, being secretly gifted for greatness to take on the title of the crime boss. Suna doesn't play any role of it. He simply clings to an ordinary life because he's always been accustomed to the way we live in our society. He's a normal person with relatable issues. Chrome, or at least her past, is anything but normal. Much like Gokudera Hayato, for example, who doesn't seem to understand how the way a normal life goes. And only at the Varia arc, where we know his complex past and his battle with Belphegor, he finally wanted to see fireworks again. With Chrome, it's almost similar. She was struck by tragedy at a very young age, and practically made a deal with the devil, and then immediately gets thrust into the mafia war. So to see Chrome for once interact with ordinary people who aren't the ones like from the Kokyu gang who had bad past of being experimented on and mistreating her, we see these gag slice of life characters genuinely giving her a home without knowing all the things she had to go through. But they still accept her anyway, because to them, she's just as important. It's to the point where the boycott scene becomes significant to this, because this is where Chrome is starting to have a bit of sign of growth and her getting used to other people. Some say she joined solely because she was also a girl, but that's not entirely it. Chrome understands Kyoko and Haru's frustrations for not being told the truth, and that's why she sided with them at first. Before, she followed along with whatever Suna told her just because he was her boss, but this is the first time she goes against him. Chrome believed that Kyoko and Haru deserved to know the truth, hence why she joined them. But she also knew that Kyoko and Haru must understand that what Suna and the others are going through is much more cruel and complicated than they believe, especially after she showed them her battle scar, telling them that compared to hers, Suna and the rest of them are much worse. She's basically telling them that they were trying to protect them by not getting them involved. Some might say it was Bianchi who was responsible for reconciling them together, but personally I think Chrome has as much of a big role here. I'll even go as far as to say that she's the main responsible on changing Kyoko and Haru's mind, as even they stated to Suna that if they still don't want them to tell them the truth, it's fine, they can still make meals for them, but Suna decided to tell them the truth anyway. This is supposed to teach Suna to be responsible and not treat these characters as just people he wants to protect. He has to tell these people the truth eventually and not keep them in the dark. This goes to show that Chrome finally gained the courage to come out of her shell and took the initiative to get to know Kyoko, Haru, and the others under her own volitation, a choice that was solely on her own, which, unlike in the Varia arc, Mukuro never mentioned anything about getting close to the Vongola and build bonds with them, but Chrome did on her own choice. Another important aspect of Chrome's growth is, if you remember, Chrome had one little quirk, which was how she never addresses other people by their names. There's Suna, to whom she calls Bossu, and she also called Hibari as Cloud Person or Cloud Man, Lambo as Cow Child, Yuni as Sky Child. Mukuro, Ken, and Chikasa were the only ones whom she called by their proper names. Granted, even if Chrome knew their names, she doesn't know if it's appropriate to call them by it. But if you read further into the manga, you notice she finally started to call them by their proper names this time. In here you can see she called Lambo by his name, Mukuro's apprentice named Fran. She no longer referred to others by their characteristics, flame attributes, or any category. Before I move on to the Simone arc, aka the Inheritance Ceremony arc, I want to discuss more about the relationship between Chrome and Mukuro for a bit. While there are a lot of personal interpretations of their relationship, I want to point out that there's no right or wrong interpretations. However, in this video, I want to remain somewhat objective, or for the very least, taking the fair side of perspective. If you are a Chrome and Mukuro shipper, you're not wrong. If you instead believe that Chrome only respects Mukuro in a platonic way, then you're also not wrong. However, if we're going to take this in an objective territory based on how much I read the manga, Chrome owes Mukuro her life. Whether she's in love with him or not, Chrome wants to be on Mukuro's side. And why wouldn't she? Mukuro gave her everything that she had wanted but couldn't have before. Acceptance, comrades, and a place to belong. Mukuro saved her life, giving her warmth, kindness, and some hint of humanity in him. In the Varia arc, her life solely revolved around Mukuro. She had zero interest in other people that had no relation to him whatsoever. Even though Chrome at some point is aware that Mukuro is only using her, Chrome's feelings for him didn't change. And I know some might say Mukuro obviously never cares for Chrome, but that's not true at all. Mukuro does care for Chrome, he does. But I wouldn't say it's the same way that Chrome does for him. Yes, Mukuro saved her life, Mukuro gave her everything, but at the end of it all, he only did so because he needed her help. Mukuro did so by giving her illusionary organs and build a symbiotic link with them. The part that frustrates me the most is when people state that Chrome is only dependent on Mukuro simply because she lacked skill and is considered weak, which again is not only untrue, it basically implies that Chrome is just a quote-unquote potential character of the series where they are stated to be stronger but never fulfills their potential and is therefore irrelevant to the plot. Essentially Rock Lee from Naruto, for example. But here's the thing. Do you remember when I mentioned that Chrome's fight with Mammon and that it won't be the only encounter? Well, guess what? Mammon is sent to train her much later in the future arc, and Mammon not only acknowledges Chrome's capabilities, but states that her illusions are expert level. And so did Genkishi when she first encountered him. The same guy, no less, who went head to head with people like Yamamoto, 10 years later Hibari, and Suna himself. Even Reborn acknowledges Chrome and believes she is strong. By the way, being acknowledged by Reborn is not just some simple feat. If Reborn said that someone is strong or has potential, then that person does have them. He's the most knowledgeable character in the verse. And do you want to know who he said this to? In some examples, there's Tsuneyoshi Sawada, Bermuda, Imatsu Sawada, Takeshi Yamamoto, Gokudera Hayato, Hibari Kyoya, as well as Ryohei Sasagawa. So Reborn's faith through Chrome is a true testament to her abilities because unlike any other anime characters who quote-unquote have potential but don't fulfill them, Chrome Dokuro outperforms in that category because she literally fulfilled her potential despite having so many limits and not having real organs to begin with. I think the biggest problem for the majority of Reborn fans who says things like this, they just want to prove a point that they're real fans by stating the series is not perfect by directly bringing up the female characters, particularly Chrome, and say that they're all bad, when in reality, they're just not paying attention to the series and actually focus on all the characters. If somebody has a counterpoint of view to your claims about Chrome being a bad character and has evidence to back up their claims to your misconception, then let me ask you this. Who's the actual real fan now? Which one of them actually is paying attention to the series? The person that's presenting proof or somebody who's just being negative? Here's some advice. Before you say something is bad, you need to take an honest look first. That's what I did. That's what makes you a real fan, because you paid attention. You wanna know why my Suna character analysis video was so effective and ultimately why it worked? Because I read the manga more than once and paid attention to all the subcontext. Saying something that's factually not correct and obviously can be disproven, and unless it's simply your personal preference, you're not being a real fan. That or you're just not paying attention. Number 1, every time I make content, I always say at the end of my videos that your opinion matters more than me. And while that is true and it holds weight, you know what's actually better than just having an opinion? Being real. Read the series first. Don't just take opinions from somebody who probably never read the series, who probably never finished the series, nor were they paying attention to the subcontext. Yes, I do often take people's opinions as a reference to my script and character analysis videos sometimes, but the biggest difference is I actually read the whole manga more than once and can form my own opinions as well as these people because they actually read the series too and show me that they were paying attention. Number 2, despite my biasness of Reborn, I never said the series was perfect. I never implied that it was flawless because I've made it obvious since my first Reborn video that I have my personal errors with the series. But when I make videos like this, I offer you nothing but a counterpoint of view. I'm not telling you how you're supposed to understand the character. I'm simply presenting to you what I learned and retelling my experience and knowledge as a fellow fan. And if you disagree with my points, that's entirely okay. I understand you. It is a personal preference. Agree to disagree, but don't treat your opinion like it's a fact, especially if you have no proof besides personal preference. Behaving like this does not make you a real fan or a normal fan in general. Instead, it makes you seriously disrespectful. So please, quit it. Anyway, back to the relationship between Chrome and Mukuro. Chrome is dependent on Mukuro not solely because she lacks skill, it's due to the fact that she is, in a subtle way, selfish. Not in a bad way, mind you, but in a way that Chrome actually desires something. It isn't in her nature to be greedy, but if you've been paying attention to this video so far, you'll see what I'm getting at. The Vongular Ring is arguably the most strongest known equipment in the Katekyo Hitman Reborn universe, which is why Chrome manages to create her own organs with the power she drew from the Mist Vongula ring during the future arc. The characteristics of this mist flame is construction, which is literally to create something out of nothing or turn nothing into something, and all Chrome needed is sheer will and resolve in order to be constructed. That's how the Vongula ring, or in this case, the mist ring, functions. But after the end of the future arc, you'll notice that Chrome could have easily used the Vongula ring to her advantage to sustain her organs, but instead, she continues to rely on Mukuro to maintain the sustaining. The reason is simple. Chrome was terrified. She did not want to lose the connection to Mukuro, fearing that if she no longer shares body with Mukuro, and by living with the illusionary organs created by herself, the connection with Mukuro would be severed. But more on that later. In the inheritance ceremony arc, Chrome was captured by Decimo after the first conflict. She awoke only to find herself trapped in the Decimo family. Chrome attempted to flee, but was stopped by Julie Kato, who demonstrated that he was creating her illusionary organs for her, as the island had a barrier that prevents Mukuro's illusions from passing through. Chrome denies Julie's claim until he demonstrated by removing her illusionary organs. In Jules Kato's disguise, he revealed himself to be Daemon Spad, the mastermind behind the Vongula and the Decimo clashing, the generational trauma of two families and misunderstandings. After refusing to submit her body by her own will, Daemon ended up mind-controlling her. He did so as bait in order to lure Mukuro out so he can take his body. Chrome could have easily rejected his illusionary organs, but that would possibly lead to her demise. That's why he controlled her mind so she wouldn't reject the illusionary organs he provided for her, and therefore kept her alive until he got what he needed. It was selfish of Chrome, and I know people would harshly criticize this part of her, but remember, this is a flaw of her character. She's not this bland and one-dimensional female character that people often throw on her. She has flaws like any regular middle schooler, and her flaw is that she's greedy. Too greedy, in fact, for Mukuro. Honestly, this is one of the moments when Akira Amano added human touch to her character. This happened in the previous arc, but I think it's much more evident and prominent here in the Inheritance Ceremony arc. In fact, the last two arcs are where I believe Chrome Dokuro shines the most, which has been unanimated for years, which is very unfortunate. Anime-onlys are missing out on these arcs, and I think most of the complaints about Chrome's character lacking development came from them, and that's another issue. They did not bother to read the manga, and especially the last two arcs, to see Chrome's growth. Oh, and by the way, I would like to mention that nobody in the Vongula family were ever against the idea of Suna wanting to reach an understanding with Enma and the Simon family themselves. Not Yamamoto, not Ryohei, not Lambo, not Hibari, not even Reborn, and Gokudera. The same guy who was always suspicious of the Simon family since their arrival, and probably the last person to ever trust him. But when Suna made up his mind and tried to reach an understanding, nobody argued with him, not knowing that it was clearly obvious that the Simon family were manipulated by Daemon Spad. And Chrome herself knew this, not just because Daemon Spad confirmed it to her himself, not just because of the key that unlocked the memories of the first generation families of Primo and Kozato, but the fact that long after Chrome was freed from Daemon's mind control, she went out of her way to save Enma's life after Suna refused to unleash the Double X burner. It's not like Reborn told her to do it, it's not like Mukuro or Suna told her to do it. She literally jumped in out of nowhere, activated her illusionary shield to save herself and Enma as Suna blasted his Double X burner towards Daemon Spad. In the final arc, the connection between Mukuro and Chrome were severed when Mukuro was finally freed from the Vintage prison. This was further confirmed in chapter 383 by Reborn, who states that Mukuro and Chrome are now their own separate selves, and for the first time, Chrome looked at Mukuro from outside perspective. She did have a wish to be with Mukuro physically, but she came to realize their greatest and most ultimate wish, to have Mukuro see Chrome as her own person rather than a vessel. And remember, this is to further conclude her character, because first we identified with her issue of seeking unconditional acceptance, to cling to her connection to Mukuro out of selfish motive, to now we solidify that with Chrome wanting to be seen as herself. Her character development is much more prominent here, as she did the unthinkable by willingly severing her connection to Mukuro, in which now her illusionary organs disappear. It was during this time that her greed became a double-edged sword. Knowing that Chrome is more capable and stronger than she believes and noticing the dilemma in her heart, Mukuro proceeds to distance himself from her by kicking her out from the Kokyo gang. So Chrome now has more room to sort things out with her own thoughts, which might seem cruel of him to just leave her like that, but it was the only thing left to do. It pushed Chrome towards the corner and think for herself. This was intentional by Mukuro, as he wanted to urge Chrome to realize her own worth, which, as a result, worsened her condition. Chapter 349, despite the sudden sadness tone to it, had a good touch to it in the end, where people welcomed Chrome and were actually glad to see her happy. She didn't even run away like in the future arc, where she was given kindness in here. She thanked the Vongala family. Later on the first day of the representative battle of the rainbow, after she enrolled at the Namimori Middle during classes, she was shown to be having a cold and wearing a mask while coughing. This is a sign that her condition got worse and was sent to the hospital, and that's when the doctors informed her that she wouldn't make it out alive in just a few days. Chrome's text box was drawn with a genuine exclamation mark. Usually when a character is surprised and confused, a question mark is drawn. But here, it wasn't. This is the first time that we've seen this out of Chrome, just to show how she's already aware herself why her condition deteriorated. And despite all that, she still pleads to Suna that she wants to be on the team. It may look like Chrome only did so out of desperation to be acknowledged by Mukuro once again. She has yet to make her resolve. If she did, she wouldn't be hospitalized. Only after Reborn posed her crucial question that she truly considered what her heart truly desires. Where does she want to be in regards to Mukuro Rukudo? Her transformation in this arc is all the more obvious because while she had the goal of protecting Mukuro, Mukuro isn't all she wanted either. Because if that were the case, she wouldn't be with Suna and the family. She wouldn't be friends with the other girls. Heck, she wouldn't even have sought comfort from Kyoko after Mukuro's misguided abandonment. Especially in the future arc, her interaction with Ipin, Haru, and Bianchi. All of them treated her with kindness and taught her that she's worth something. And those lessons are what she used to give back to the person who helped her to live long enough to learn from it. She was even criticized during the future arc for trailing after Mukuro, saying he only intends to use her in the end. But Chrome knows better. In fact, Mukuro himself is aware that Chrome Dokuro didn't just surpass him in terms of raw power or as an illusionist, but she's also stronger than him as a person, as herself. Chrome accepted that Mukuro might be using her in the end, but the only reason why she followed him anyway was because she knows there's still good in him. I know it's a reach because this is the same guy that almost ruined Lance's life. Actually, no, he completely ruined Lance's life and even almost ruined Suna's. But I think this defeat from Suna and learning a sense of humility made him realize that not all mafiosos are bad. Yes, I know he still says he wants to control Suna's body and destroy the mafia, but ultimately he never does. Chrome was innocent, but not blind from reality. She knows what she's doing and is not ignorant to Mukuro's true intentions. Remember, Suna did something similar way back in the Kokyo Gang arc, in which after knowing all the terrible things he has done to Lancia himself, and knowing that he was experimented on, he refused to eliminate him in the end and saved other people like Chikasa and Ken. There is goodness in Mukuro's heart. It's hard to see it, but there is, and that's the main aspect of what Chrome was chasing. If Mukuro is that much of a bad person, he would have easily escaped the prison by himself, refusing to help Ken and Chikasa in the process. He would have watched Chrome die and not save her life, but he didn't do those things. Why else would Chrome trust him in the first place? Yes, she wants to protect those people close to her, but she now also learns that she herself is worth protecting. She found herself worth something, and with her self-acceptance made her undisputably one of my favorite characters in the series because that's something Chrome couldn't do during the beginning parts of the manga. She spent most of the series being a doormat, allowing everyone to use her until she finally found a way to be selfish, in a neat way too. Chrome cannot continue to be dependent on Mukuro for long. She has to grow up and realize that. She is loyal to Mukuro, but not to the point that she'd obey what he says like the rest of the Kokyo gangs, or be useful to him like how it used to be. Here, she specifically says that she'll protect him. There are things that even Mukuro cannot do by himself. The same way Suna defied Reborn is the same way Chrome put her foot down on Mukuro, knowing Mukuro's sheer amount of experience as a powerful illusionist. I think it's interesting to see how these dynamics mirror each other, and how especially Amano flows the theme here for supposedly selfless characters finally making their own decisions. And thus, she knows that Mukuro is giving her the opportunity to shine by herself, and that's what she did. And in doing so, she created her own organs, fought alongside Mukuro physically this time, and won. Now, with them living separately and don't share the same body anymore, that didn't make their bond weak. It's just that while Mukuro acknowledged her resolve and fought alongside her, making their bond strong, also made them self-independent, because Mukuro knows just how capable Chrome actually is, and seeing that she's no longer just a subordinate like how she used to be. In fact, out of all the people gathered and chosen for the final battle against the Vindich, Chrome is one of them. Reborn specifically selected her, and this becomes very important as the segue into the final points. Now, in terms of who represents the real Mist Guardian of the Vongala family, to keep this answer short because there are a lot of multiple answers, I think it's safe to say that it's both of them here, but if I'm going to put in ways, it actually depends on who you view as the Mist Guardian. And that's where it comes to put my sense in this discussion. In terms of who represents the Mist Guardian, as in who does the duties and who's the one that fulfills those duties, and in terms of strictly presentation, it's Mukuro Rukudo. Because not only did Ematsu selected him personally, because Ematsu is the CEDF of the Vongala, they have the right to choose who is the guardian for the next generation of the Vongala family. And Ematsu selected him, but not only that, Mukuro was the first to obtain the Vongala gear. So in many ways, Mukuro has been the Mist Guardian in terms of who represents it. But based on who is close to the Vongala and who is the one that is the most loyal to them and who sticks to the Vongala to the very end as the Mist Guardian, it's Chrome Dokuro, because she was the one who chose their side to the first place. She went from being very loyal to Mukuro to then finally getting to know the characters in the Vongala family and finally stick alongside them. In fact, if Mukuro were to declare war on the Vongala and Chrome has to choose between the Vongala and Mukuro, the past Chrome would have easily selected Mukuro's side. But in the current Chrome, it would be much hard, but I think I can imagine her choosing the Vongala side because she knows these people better now. She knows Kyoko, she knows Haru, she knows Suna, and she knows all the people that know her and accepted her for who she is. And remember when I said that Ematsu selected Mukuro as the Mist Guardian? Well, Reborn, the tutor for Suna, treated Chrome like she's the Mist Guardian. He was the one that selected her to fight alongside them when Bermuda and the Vindich were in the Curse games. These are the last two panels of the series she appears in, and it's a nice touch to it, because she's got friends now, just like Suna. She ends the series with a smile she's been unknowingly chasing for long, where she rarely smiled. The outfit she's wearing also reflects this, because she's dressed in her normal clothes rather than her Kokyu battle outfit, and while she's got the eye patch and the boots, it is part of her identity. I'd like to think that even after she lives on her own life, she likes these boots so much that she wears them from time to time. She goes from being abandoned by her family, not being able to be someone to accept herself, to having someone dear and being able to live for her own desires. Then from there, she learns how to be with others and accept kindness. She finally learns to come to peace with herself and stand as her own person. Like the Miss Flame, she went from nothing into turning into something, not just physically, but mentally, creating something within her that makes her self-acceptance impactful. Even if you're not a Chrome fan, I hope that at least you learned something or two in this video, because Chrome has always been one of my favorite characters in this series, and I hope this whole entire analysis justifies that. The theme of self-acceptance has always been something important, not just for the arc specifically, but even Reborn itself, because Suna went through the same thing, and we see him accepting himself despite his flaws. And in a way, Chrome sorta is more unique. Chrome is a little bit more unique because, you see, unlike Suna, unlike Gokudera, unlike the rest of the characters, she's the only one that started off pretty roughly, to be honest with you, because she has no family other than her mother and stepfather, who both don't care about her. So to see Chrome starting off this badly to then becoming someone like more assured and more understanding and knowledge, seeing her grow, the growth she had and the transformation in the manga is really impactful in my opinion. While many won't admit it, Chrome is special. She definitely is the most special character in the series. And I hope at least you understand that. If you reached this far enough in the video, thank you so much for watching. I want to give a special thank you to Oni James for helping me make this video. He helped me find the flashback soundtrack for Chrome and even giving me his opinions on the character, as well as Nagia. Nagia, aka Windermyre, has wrote her own character analysis on Chrome in her Tumblr page, which I took a lot of inspiration and influence from that in the video, which yes, I have her permission from it, and she has wrote a lot of interesting, amazing points that I wanted to share for as well. So in a way, this video is dedicated to her as well as Oni James, and many other Chrome fans like myself. Nagia has also wrote character analysis for Mukuro, Demon Spot, and many other characters to come. So Oni James, Nagia, if you guys are watching this, thank you all so much. Trust me, you guys are absolutely amazing. I wouldn't have made this video much sooner had it not been with you guys. I wanted to analyze Chrome, but I thought it would be in the near distant future, but because of how much inspiration you guys have given me, I decided to make this video more sooner than possible. So once again, thank you both so much, as well as everyone else who's been watching this. So thank you all so much for helping me make this video. So lucky to have everyone here. Thank you, have a great day, and see you soon. And yes, more video is on the works.